Funding for this edition of State of Affairs with Steve Adubato has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, PNC, Grow Up Great, NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years, the New Jersey Education Association, the Northward Center, the Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference, Caldwell University, and by St. Joseph's Health, world-class care just around the corner. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network. And by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to another remote edition of our very compelling programming. We're pleased to be joined by Wendy McGuire, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Paterson and Passaic. Wendy, good to have you with us.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for inviting me to join you today.
Let's get right into this. We've been part of an initiative called Reimagine Childcare, previously known as Right from the Start NJ, all about childcare, all about quality, affordable, accessible childcare. Your organization committed to this, particularly for children in Paterson and Passaic. Talk about where you are and how this pandemic has affected your work.
Well, pre-pandemic, we served about 1,500 kids a day at 10 locations in Paterson and Passaic. Boys and Girls Club has been in the community for nearly 60 years. And then in March, when schools closed, we had to reimagine, we had to adapt how we would serve the community and what the community needed. So we took a deep breath and we dove in and provided emergency food relief, which is obviously not part of childcare, but definitely part of community service and was something that was desperately needed in the community. That lasted for about 12 weeks and wound up delivering about 500,000 pounds of food. So the gymnasium that usually housed kids playing was now a warehouse, and our youth development specialists became emergency food relief workers. So it was, I think the most important thing was that it was meaningful, right? During a time where everybody felt that they weren't as useful as they could be, they were staying at home. It was something that we found very impactful. But then as things progressed and as we moved towards June and as we were allowed to reopen for summer camp, that's exactly what we did. So in summer, for 8 weeks, we had about 130 kids in the building, full day. And it was not the same as it used to be. You know, summer camp, they now had masks on. They had to stay in the same rooms with the same staff, but they were safe. They had breakfast and lunch. They were with caring adults. And even more importantly, their parents could return to work. So we had a very successful summer. And now we are open right now for full day where the kids are here in our care, logging on like they should be for school. So they're with us full day. So we've pivoted a few times.
Wendy, let's do this because I'm big on innovation. I'm big on adaptation, and Reimagine Childcare is an initiative that really looks at the whole reimagining, if you will, of what childcare needs to look like moving forward. Question, your funding for what you do, our funding, as we're both nonprofits, the Turrell Fund, a big part of that. They're the folks that are pushing, one of the not-for-profits, the foundation's pushing Reimagine Childcare. Put it in context for people who may not live in the Paterson, Passaic area who say, that's not my kid. I'm good. I got childcare for my kids. So I feel bad for those kids and those families in Paterson, Passaic, but not really my issue. Explain to folks why it's everyone's issue.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, and we are in complete alignment on that. When we talk about community, so I'm born and raised in Bergen County, understood there to be a county line between Bergen and Passaic, but it's not really anything but a line on a map. Our community is our community, and it extends beyond Bergen County into Passaic. And the needs of the kids are important because, as somebody put it during this pandemic, we're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. So some of the statistics that are available, and some of the statistics that describe Paterson and Passaic are things that people in Bergen County wouldn't even think of when you look at the graduation rates are 70%. That's unacceptable. And so the club, from an adaptation standpoint, now that we look at the kids in our care, we've put resources towards assessing those kids and finding out where they're at. And then we're going to put more resources into making sure that they get back on track.
So hold on one second. Are you open at 7:30 in the morning?
Yes, we are.
Do you go sometimes till 5 o'clock or at 5:30 at night?
7:30 to 5:30 are our hours now.
No disrespect to our friends in Bergen County, but let me just say this. If you don't know Bergen County, one of the wealthiest counties in the nation. Let's just say in Paterson, Passaic, that's not nearly the case. The reality is there are separate realities. The reality is those children, those families need more assistance. And it's not because they want anything less for their children than you do. Again, I'll get off my soapbox, but let people understand what's at stake for these children if they don't get the quality child care that we're talking about in communities like Paterson, Passaic, provided by your organization.
It's not just the kids, it's the parents. So in other counties, there's much more access to either dollars, for somebody to come in the house and take care of them, and those learning pods and so forth and so on. In Paterson, Passaic, that doesn't exist. So it's really critical, especially now, because it's harder to reopen a lot of the school-based programs because the schools aren't open yet. It's incredibly important for everybody to understand that the kids in Paterson and Passaic are the same as the kids in Bergen County. They're smart, they're ambitious, they're intelligent, they're funny, they're polite, and what the difference is, the major difference is opportunity. So that's the real key here, is that there is no difference between the children based on their zip code or where they live.
Let's just remind people they also have great potential, and we, all of us, have a responsibility to giving every one of those kids, whether it's Paterson or Passaic or Newark or Jersey City or any urban community, those children every opportunity to succeed. I want to thank Wendy McGuire, CEO, Boys and Girls Clubs of Paterson and Passaic. This is part of our Reimagine Child Care Initiative. Wendy, thank you so much. All the best to you and your colleagues. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Steve. You too.
I'm Steve Adubato. We'll be right back.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're now joined by our longtime friend, Bernie Flynn, CEO of Mercer Street Friends. How are you, Bernie?
I'm well, Steve. Good to be with you.
Well, Bernie's been a longtime friend, one of the original board members of NJTV back in July of 2011, believes in public broadcasting, believes in what we are doing, and now is leading a not-for-profit, previously the leader over at New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Company. Long and winded way of getting to this. What is Mercer Street Friends, A, and B, why is it more important than ever during this COVID crisis?
Well, Steve, Mercer Street Friends is a social service organization founded by Quakers that's been around for more than 60 years. And we're all about food, family, and education. And when it comes to this pandemic, I took over the job in February. Pandemic hits in March. And as far as food goes, we're the food bank for Mercer County. So immediately, our lives changed in the food bank right away. We are an essential operation, through the pandemic. So we had people coming in and volunteering here. We had expanded programming to help the community. So Mercer Street Friends has always, over the decades, been an organization that steps up when it's needed most. And it was most visible, during the beginning of the pandemic and continuing until now. We're also in the schools. We're in 2 Trenton district schools, helping to support our students, and we've been doing that virtually. over the past 6 months, and we're engaged right now with the reopening of the school calendar, even if we're not, in school directly. And we also support families and young moms. We have prenatal, postnatal programming. We help with counseling services for young families. So we're a full social service organization, and it's something that I wanted to do in my, post-NJM career.
And by the way, we're talking about the Trenton area more specifically, but beyond Trenton, right?
Well, we're all of Mercer County in terms of our social services. But you're correct. I mean, Steve, you started out with the public television commentary, and I will tell you, it's such a pleasure to be with you, because I remember the days when you and a handful of others were fighting to save public television in the state of New Jersey. And I was privileged to be part of that. And so that's an example of, my interest statewide in helping to support, public television, our community that's underserved. But, for now, I'm focused in the city of Trenton.
Yeah, by the way, full disclosure, I want to be clear that I appreciate Bernie's kind words, but if it were not for Neil Shapiro, the president and CEO of WNET, the parent, if you will, of NJTV, and John Servideo and Bob Feinberg and so many others, there would not be an NJTV. Operating it and keeping it going is a whole nother story. Bernie, let me ask you this. Money. Since we're talking about public broadcasting, we're talking about money. NJM happens to be one of the underwriters of what we do, but they're also supportive of what you're doing, and also the Princeton Area Community Foundation, our good friend Jeff Vega, supportive as well. How much of your time is spent raising money in this global pandemic to do what Mercer Street Friends is doing?
Well, certainly it takes a lot of time, but the wonderful thing about this pandemic is that organizations like NJM, like the Princeton Area Community Foundation and Jeff Vega, they were meeting us halfway. I mean, the Princeton Area Community Foundation put out probably the first COVID relief fund.
Yep, they did.
Provided a streamlined grant process. So those nonprofits that were serving the community in the beginning of the pandemic, they had the opportunity to apply for funding right away, and the nonprofit community got answers right away and funding coming to them that gave the nonprofit community confidence that they would be supported, as they expanded their programming to meet the needs in the community. And NJM's a similar story. In our food bank, we needed more room as soon as the pandemic got started. Well, guess what? NJM has warehouse space right next to our food bank. What did they do? They opened up their warehouse and allowed us to use their space so that we could adequately run the food bank, in the first few months of the pandemic. So the giving community, the philanthropic community, both, community foundations, the corporate community, individual donors, family foundations, they have been outstanding, through this process. So it enables me to focus on the work of the organization, while also, of course, making sure that we have proper funding to execute on all our programs. 30
seconds left in your post-NJM life as the leader of Mercer Street Friends, the work you're doing at this time for the people you're serving. 1 to 10, how rewarding?
It's a 10. And it's because the people at Mercer Street Friends are just like the people at NJM. Very caring, very giving. Corporate environment's different than nonprofit environment. I'm happy to be part of this team and proud to serve as their leader, during this very difficult time. But we've got many good years ahead of us here at Mercer Street, and we look forward to serving the community in Trenton and the greater Mercer County area for decades to come.
Bernie, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and keep doing what you're doing with the folks at Mercer Street Friends. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you, Steve.
All the best. We'll be right back.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We're now joined by Shennell McCloud, CEO of Project Ready NJ. Good to see you, Shennell.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Doing all right. Tell everyone what Project Ready is.
Yeah, so Project Ready is an organization that I founded a little over 2 years ago with the mission of two things. One, to make sure that we're educating the community around all of their voting options and what it means for them to be able to exercise their vote. And two, to make sure that the community understands the importance of being able to utilize all of the tools and resources provided to them in order to be able to vote. One of those examples, Steve, is making sure that people understand the process for voting by mail.
So let's play this out a little bit. We're taping this on the 22nd of September. It'll be seen before and after this historic election on November the 3rd.
Yes, and today is also National Voter Registration Day, which is why I'm very excited to be joining you on this particular day.
Got it. Now let's do this. For those who question the vote by mail process and say, I just want to go to the polls myself. There are fewer polls in New Jersey. It's more challenging to do that. Talk about vote by mail and why you believe it is not only safe and appropriate in this pandemic, but you believe in terms of the issues having to do with race,
yes,
economics, and social justice, it's connected.
Yes, absolutely. Don't be afraid to vote by mail. Here's why. In May, we had the opportunity to see for the first time ever a 100% vote by mail process. And in that process, we were able to iron out a lot of the kinks that I think came with voting by mail. For example, 11% of the ballots, unfortunately, during May 12th were rejected. We were able to see only a 2% rejection rate as we entered the July primaries. Why? Because the state of New Jersey was able to relax some of the policies that lent to people's signatures not being able to match. And that also led to the post office not being able to have the appropriate ballots postmarked on time. And so the beauty of that May 12th election is now we're able to see policies put in place, advocates that have come out in order to make sure that the vote by mail process is seamless and easier for us to be able to use.
So,
I want to mention another thing, Steve. We also now have ballot boxes that are across the Essex County, because Essex County is where I'm representing, also across the state of New Jersey, where you can drop off your ballot securely. Someone will come and pick it up and directly take it to your clerk's office. So you don't even have to worry about the post office if you choose not to rely on them.
So here's the thing. Again, it'll be seen. This interview will be seen before and after the election. But President Trump and others, he is the president as we speak, and either way, whether he wins or loses, will be the president into January 2021. He says it's a fraud. This is a setup. This is wrong, and it's no real way to vote in the middle of this pandemic, and safety is not the issue. The only way to vote is in person, you say?
Yes. So no, that's not what I say. I say that we should have the opportunity to be able to vote in person, and we should also have the opportunity to be able to vote by mail if we choose. I have personally went door to door in order to talk with people who actually wanted a vote by mail ballot. Why? Because they couldn't make it out to the polls because they may have been sickly. They may not be able to actually stand on the polling line, or they may actually have to work during the time that you're able to go and vote. So we need to make sure that as advocates in our local communities, that we have access to vote by mail, and that we're holding all of our elected officials accountable to ensure that it is a seamless, equitable process, the way voting should be.
Shennell, do you believe this, regardless of this election, do you believe that vote by mail, by the way, let's make sure we put up Project Ready NJ's website. I'm sure our team has been doing that. Do you think this is the wave of the future?
Yes, absolutely.
You do?
And I do.
Even after the vaccine, even after we get much better with COVID, you still believe we'll be doing this?
Even after, in the last election, the May election that I just referenced, we were able to see in a very small local election here in Newark, New Jersey, upward from a 20% increase in people who were actually participating in the voting process. I 100% think that vote by mail is not going anywhere. And I think it's in our best interest to, again, make sure that the process is working for us, because that's what this is all about. Voting should work for us. We should be able to do it from home, or we should be able to do it in person seamlessly.
Project Ready NJ, Shennell McCloud is the CEO. She's a Newarker from Brick City.
Love
My hometown. I know. See, there's a Newark thing. People don't get it
It's
sometimes.
the North thing. That's why when they said Steve wants to talk to you, I said Steve can have wherever he wants.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, but more importantly, we appreciate all the work you're doing for the citizens of Newark and beyond. All the best, Shennell. You take care now.
Have a good day.
You got it. We'll be right back after this.
Bye.
To watch more State of Affairs with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are honored to be joined by the 2020 New Jersey Teacher of the Year. She's Kimberly Dickstein Hughes, also English teacher at Haddonfield Memorial High School. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. How are you?
Good. We should say that you're joining us after a full day of teaching, right?
Correct. It's been a long day, both in person, virtual. I had 2 hours of conferences, one-on-one with my students. So it was a very productive day, but a long one.
To all of the public school teachers, all of us parents say thank you. Hey, listen, we're going to do 2 different segments with you. In another segment, we'll talk all about remote teaching and learning and the challenges and the innovation, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, I want to talk about this initiative, the Alicia Rose Victorious Foundation. What is it and why does it matter so much?
Yeah, so the Alicia Rose Victorious Foundation is a nonprofit organization that started in Southern New Jersey in Voorhees. And it came out of a need for hospitalized teens. So the Alicia Rose Victorious Foundation began after the passing of my best friend, Alicia, and she was diagnosed with a really rare form of cancer. And when she was in the hospital, there was very little for teenagers to do. And after her passing, her parents and community members mobilized around this need to provide courage and comfort to hospitalized teens. And we've been doing that in a variety of ways for 18 years.
Let me ask you something. Your parents, Mario and Giselle, very involved. It's a family initiative, is it not?
Correct. So what I found interesting, Steve, is that Mario and Giselle are not my parents. They're Alicia's parents.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alicia's parents.
No,
my bad. I apologize.
No. But what I was going to say that they're my second parents, and they've been.
Is that true?
Oh yeah, I always call her my other mom. I call her MOM, and I spent so much time with Mario and Giselle. They hosted my bridal shower. They're so much a part of my life, and I wouldn't be who I am today without my other parents. So that just meant a lot to me that you said that.
You know, I made that mistake, and what's so interesting is you do have that connection with them. But the other thing is, I was reading about this. And by the way, I want to thank our friends at Horizon who clued us into this. And we may not have known about this initiative if they hadn't told us. You said, quote, all that Alicia wanted was to go to school, be with her friends and her teachers. We wanted to give teens a sense of normalcy in an abnormal time.
Yeah.
How special was she as a person?
Yeah. Alicia was the brightest light. When you're quoting that speech, I said those exact words on my acceptance speech as the New Jersey State Teacher of the Year. And I haven't heard those words in a long time.
What do they mean to you?
The world. I wouldn't be where I am today without Alicia and her light. And Alicia was so full of life. I never saw Alicia cry or say, why me, or lament what the world handed her. Alicia did cartwheels down the corridor. She got her permit as soon as she possibly could, despite being under chemotherapy. Alicia made every effort to be present in her friends' lives and said electronic cards, like e-cards, that was a big thing in the 2000s. And to do everything to just feel normal, to be like a normal teen. And I really believe that I am a high school teacher because of that formative time in my life and that pivotal moment of realization that you can really make a difference at that age and continue to make a difference in your life if you commit to something early and not waver. So Alicia means a lot to me. She really is a guiding light in my life.
So interesting. We've been doing a series called Making a Difference for years with the cooperation of the Russ Berry Foundation, where we acknowledge people. Well, they acknowledge people, and we put them on the air who have made a difference. Was it always clear to you that you were put on this earth to make a difference?
Heavy questions, Steve.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
I don't have the answers. I just asked the questions.
No. I believe so, or at least Alicia handed me that charge. I think that after Alicia's passing, I knew that I had to do something good with that trauma, and so did Mr. and Mrs. Dina Towell, my other parents, and that we were called to do something greater than ourselves and to meet the needs of others. And we've consistently rallied for hospitalized teens who want to just experience that normal life. So the proms, the movie nights, those activities that they don't have access to because they're undergoing treatment. And we're all about really making that time normal for them. And I think now more than ever, we can sort of relate to that. One of the programs that we're really proud of right now is our art cart program. And we have 51 art carts across the nation. And Alicia really turned to art therapy while she was in treatment. But what I've also noticed that in this very strange, unknown time, right, many of us have turned to the things that our teens need in hospitals. So I think we can also feel that sense of empathy when we talk about isolation and loneliness of our target population for the foundation. Many of our teens now have experienced that in a very different way, but we can start to really feel that in our hearts, right? And give back now more than ever.
Hey, Kimberly.
Yeah.
We're all proud of you. And I have a feeling that Mario and Giselle and those who know you way better than we do are really proud of you as well, not just because you're the teacher of the year, but because of what you're doing. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
All the best. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Terrell Fund, supporting Reimagine Childcare, PNC, Grow Up Great, NJM Insurance Group, the New Jersey Education Association, the Northward Center, the Russell Berry Foundation, Caldwell University, and by St. Joseph's Health. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network, and by New Jersey Monthly.
Being a kid is all about playing, laughing, and having fun. Doing what they do best, from rolling in leaves to building a snowman. But when illness or injury slows your little one down, you want the best pediatric care possible. Turn to the experts at the St. Joseph's Children's Hospital to get your superhero feeling super again. St. Joseph's Health, helping kids be kids.